Your Eminence, Reverend Father and pastors, honorable people of the Ecumenical family, and people concerned with ecology. I'm coming from the Middle East Council of Churches, bringing you the greetings of the team who is much involved in ecology and green activities. Our organization became almost green, and we have been doing lots of projects in this respect, and further more will come. My approach is practical in a way, trying to draw some lines for a future action concerning the ecology. And I've been dealing with ecology for almost 30 years in my economics teachings, where I try to show the bad side of economy, not only the prosperous side of economy, and how economy is destroying the earth the same way a butterfly destroys itself, turning around the lamp all night and being dead in the morning. When we realize the depth of the infiltration of pollution and the destruction it causes to creation, as well as the power of environmental polluters and their ability to influence major decisions, we almost feel helpless and overcome with despair. But when we look at what is required from us to protect Creator's gift, we feel the challenge and the greatness of the mission towards the one who has entrusted us with it, who is the way, the truth, and the life. The environment, gift of the Creator, handed over to us to preserve and enhance in order to have a better life. What did we do with it? What the Creator has placed in our charge is not land, rocks, water, or air, which we commodify and pollute according to our interests, neglect, and whims, but rather elements of life. It is a symbol of the Creator's love for us and His desire for us to live within it and by it, not to destroy it, leaving for future generations a waste dump to the size of the earth. You know all this, and that is why you are here. And the presence of a number that exceeded all expectations is nothing but evidence of the anxiety that worries humanity, which seems to have made up its mind and decided to take the fate of its environment into its own hands in the face of those who see the Creator's gift nothing but commodities put on the markets according to the terms of supply and demand, and sometimes subject to monopoly. We do not deny humankind the right to use natural resources in order to improve its life, nor do we deny the necessity of inventing and using technology, but going too far has brought humanity to the point of disaster. The environmental situation in the world today calls for intervention that goes beyond science. It calls for divine intervention that awakens those who steeped in environmental apathy. It reminds the creature as well as the importance of creation and asks what it has done with it. This beautiful, picturesque environment, the source of resources with which humanity has lived for millennia, has become exhausted, aging, consumed, and placed on the brink of abyss. Here, the Church of Christ must intervene to curb the deterioration, deter the saboteurs from continuing in their wrongdoing, preserve and protect what remains of creation for us, and treat what can be treated. The Church's capabilities and areas of intervention are many and varied, and above all, it's armed with the values of the incarnate Lord, His teachings and His behavior based on love of others and love of creation. In love, there is elevation, and in elevation, there is detachment from matter and refraining from harming one's neighbor in order to obtain it. The church socially is made up of parishes, dioceses, institutions, and leaders whose voice is heard and whose ability and influence is very high, given the credibility that the church enjoys. What is required is to create a culture of protecting creation that becomes rooted in people's soul to the point that their thinking and reactions become directed toward protecting creation. The approach is based on awareness and advocacy, with the church being the role model. Awareness occurs through educational institutions, parishes, media, and cultural activities, lectures, seminars, workshops, conferences, and campaigns like Season of Creation. As for advocacy, it occurs through environmental institutions and other church bodies or through environmental activists. In both dimensions, activities must be institutionalized in order to achieve sustainability. The protection of creation must be included in educational curricula at all levels, in schools and universities, and with all available educational means and techniques in order for it to become part of the culture of society. We have the experience for that already at my university, In addition, the culture of protecting creation must be introduced into the theology curricula in preparing parish ministers. This is what the MECC-affiliated Association of Theological Institutes of the Middle East, ATIMI, did as a key partner in the Symposium on Climate Justice organized by the MECC Eco-Justice Unit last October. It hosted church leaders and local and international church-related experts, in addition to theology students from ATIMI, and we will come to the results of this symposium at the conclusion of my word. On the other hand, we must remember that the church is one of the major real estate owners, and the Muslim organizations too, and we're in discussion with them about that. And thus it can control the management, use, and protection of land. In this context, the church can propose and even impose legislations to optimize the use of land and to design residential and industrial areas. It can also increase natural reserves in order to preserve the environmental balance without affecting the requirements of urban economic growth. In parallel, the church can be a major savior of the soil through afforestation projects that help to consolidate the soil and maintain its agricultural productivity. We started this at the MECC in Lebanon and called this project Afforestation Days. We seek to spread it throughout the Middle East. The enthusiasm of the communities and youth involved in the project was highly promising. All of this requires that the church gradually transforms itself into a green church so that its structure and orientations witness a radical change with regard to climate change and environmental protection. It carries in its culture and history what facilitates this matter, from environmental saints to environmental and agricultural events and liturgy. The agricultural dimension was present throughout the history of the church, and the lives of the monks show that. In this context, the church must call for humankind to reconcile with the environment and remind it that it's only a trust and custody, and that it must maintain the trust, because in doing so, it will be exercising an act of faith in the Creator to whom it owes everything. In a related context, the church can be a reference for launching large-scale environmental projects that deal with the lifestyle of people who are accustomed to luxury, which has become the primary source of waste in the world. This could be done, besides urging to move lifestyles toward a simpler one, through encouragement to launch waste recycling projects, not only as environmental protection measure, but also as means for income generation and job creation. At the end of my intervention, I would, if I may, refer to two important documents issued by the Middle East Council of Churches. The first document is the recommendations of the above-mentioned symposium on climate change, from which we extract some basic orientation. I divided them into four. I collected them and grouped them into four. Sharing, togetherness in order, and collaboration and coordination, including local grassroots participation in order to deal with this crucial problem. Helping churches and working with them to go green. Having green Bible that shed lights on text and talks about nature, environment, and peace and induce change in people's lifestyles. Establishing environmental classes at school, universities, in view of changing children and youth activities towards the environment, especially that the churches run schools and universities in the Middle East and elsewhere, of course. The second document is the statement that was issued by the MECC leadership. In this document, the following principles were stated. Global long-term commitment. The global climate emergency threat requires a global response and long-term commitment, 1. 2, just climate financing. Nations to commit for just financing of climate action and sharing of expertise. Developing nations do not have to choose between indebtedness and climate-induced poverty. 3, just management of resources. Climate justice is intertwined with political and economic justice. More political and economic justice and conflict resolution are required in the Middle East. 4, simpler lifestyles. Reconsider our relationship with nature, as quality of life does not consist in the abundance of material possessions. Reflect on Jesus' approach to wealth. 5, just transition. Decarbonizing our economies requires training and investment to create sustainable livelihoods. Avoid injustice like exploiting the nations from which resources are being extracted. Avoid replacing one harmful behavior with another. 6, church commitment. Church to be a prophetic voice in living out the change we request, to be a role model and speak to its own communities, encouraging them to preach, pray, and act on climate change in their habits and activities. Promote the season of creation church. It is to turn faith into action. Church and government cooperation call on national governments to increase their engagement with faith communities in the climate crisis. Church is a trusted voice with years of experience in society. The challenge is there, the tools are there, the modalities are known. It takes will and courage to accomplish. May God help us. Thank you.